A provider sends €500 from Frankfurt out of their own wages. A manager arranges for the empty family house to be rented so that the rent, not the child's salary, pays for the care. Same parent, same need, completely different outcome for the child.
This is for the ones who are holding both worlds, working the numbers while raising the boys, sending back home while we're planning right here, legacy growing with every new year.
Before you wire another euro home this month, I want to ask you one question, and I want you to actually answer it in your head as I say it. Does your mother own land? Does your father own a house? Does anyone in your family hold a life insurance policy that nobody has looked at in years? Because if the answer to any of those is yes, then your parents may already have the money to pay for their own care right now. And nobody ever taught you how to unlock it. I am Lynn Benson. This is Futuretainment. Now, before we go any further, one thing I will repeat in every single one of these money conversations: everything I'm about to share with you is educational only. It is not personalized financial advice. Every family is different, every country's rules are different, and before you make any real decision, you need to sit down with a qualified advisor who knows your specific situation. Hold on to that. It matters, and you will understand exactly why by the end of this video, because here is what I am going to show you today. I am going to show you why so many of us hardworking, loving people are quietly going broke supporting parents who are not actually broke. I am going to show you the one mental shift that separates the families who are drowning from the families who are free. And near the end, I am going to give you the single question that starts the whole thing, the question that changed everything for me. So stay with me all the way through, because that last part is the part you will actually act on. Let me start with my own story, because I did not learn this from a book. I learned it the hard way. Like many of you, I spent years sending money home. Every single month, without fail, a transfer went out. For medical bills, for groceries, for the emergency that always seemed to arrive right when I had finally caught my breath, for the gap, that endless gap between what my parents had and what they needed. And I did it with love. I want to be clear about that. I did not resent it. It felt like duty, like honor, like the least I could do from so far away. But it also felt like a weight that never got lighter. Every year that passed, the transfers did not shrink. They grew. And quietly, in the background, my own life, my own savings, my own future was standing still so that theirs could keep moving. And then one day, someone asked me a question I had never once been asked in my entire life. They said, "Lynn, does your mother own land? Does your father own property? Have you ever actually sat down and looked at what they have and asked whether any of it could fund their care?" I remember going quiet, because the honest answer was no. No, I had never looked. It had genuinely never occurred to me. In my mind, my parents were people I supported. It had never once crossed my mind that they were people with assets, assets that could support them. And when I finally did sit down and really look, the answer surprised me. It humbled me, actually. Because the resources were there. They had been there the whole time. I had just never been taught to see them. Now, before I show you what I found, I need you to understand the scale of this problem, because you are not alone in it, not even close. Across the diaspora, adult children like you and me routinely drain their own savings, delay their own retirement, and quietly burn themselves out, funding care for parents back home. This is not a handful of people. In sub-Saharan Africa alone, remittances, the money we send home, reached $52.9 billion in a single year. Nigeria by itself accounted for around 20 billion of that. Sit with those numbers for a moment. That is not aid money from governments. That is not charity from strangers. That is us. Millions of us, standing at money transfer counters and tapping on banking apps, sending our own hard-earned money home, month after month after month, with no end in sight and no plan behind it. And here is the part that nobody ever told us. The part I wish someone had told me a decade earlier. The problem in most families is not that our parents have no money. Let me say that again, because it goes against everything we assume. The problem is usually not that the money does not exist. The problem is that the money is locked up in forms that nobody ever taught us how to access. Think about what that actually looks like. It looks like land that sits there year after year, generating absolutely nothing. It looks like a house standing empty because your parent moved in with a relative. It looks like a life insurance policy your father took out 30 years ago, faithfully paying the premiums that nobody has opened since. It looks like a pension being drawn down in the least efficient way possible, leaking money every single month. That is not poverty. That is a portfolio nobody is managing. So here is the sentence I want you to carry out of this video. Write it down if you can. Your parents are not broke. Their wealth is just sleeping. And once you truly understand that, the whole job changes. Everything changes. Which brings me to the single most important idea in this entire series. Stay with me, because this is the shift that separates the families who are free from the families who are drowning. Most of us were raised to be one thing: providers, to give from our own pocket, to be the source. In our cultures, that is what a good child does. You send, you sacrifice, you provide. Nobody ever taught us the other role. Nobody taught us to be managers. And there is a world of difference between those two words. A provider gives from their own salary. When the need arises, they reach into their own pocket and they hope there is enough. A provider is the source of the money, which means the provider can run dry. The provider can burn out. The provider can end up old and broke in a foreign country, having given everything away. A manager does something completely different. A manager looks at what the family already owns and makes it work. A manager does not ask, "How much can I send this month?" A manager asks, "How do we make these assets fund the care so that I do not have to?" Let me make that concrete. A provider sends 500 euros from Frankfurt out of their own wages. A manager arranges for the empty family house to be rented so that the rent, not the child's salary, pays for the care. Same parent, same need, completely different outcome for the child. One of them is being slowly drained. The other one is free. Those are not the same job. And the entire purpose of these Friday conversations is to move you, step by step, from the first role into the second, from provider to manager. Now I can already hear the objection forming, because I had it too. You might be thinking, "Lynn, this sounds nice, but my parents are proud people. They will never agree to touch their assets. My father built that house with his own hands. He will not rent it out. My mother will never sell a plot of land." I hear you. And I promise you, we are going to deal with that fear directly in a future episode, because it is real and it deserves a full and honest conversation. But let me plant one seed for now. In my experience, most parents resist not because they are stubborn, but because they are afraid of being a burden, afraid of losing their dignity. And when you show them that activating their own assets is precisely what protects their dignity, that it means they never have to depend on their children's pockets, the conversation very often changes. So hold that thought. We will come back to it properly. For today, I do not need you to sell anything or rent anything or sign anything. I need you to do something much smaller and much more powerful. I need you to look. Over the coming Fridays, I'm going to walk you through exactly how families across the diaspora are doing this in detail. I will show you how the family home can be turned into monthly income without selling it. I will show you the two places, an old insurance policy and a forgotten pension, where real money is almost always hiding. I will walk you through a real family who cut their monthly support by 83% without finding a single euro of new money. And I will show you how to handle the hardest part of all of it, the sibling who controls the money, without blowing up your family in the process. But every one of those strategies, all of them, begins in the exact same place, with one shift and one question. The shift you already have now, from provider to manager, and the question is the one that was asked of me, the one that changed the entire direction of my family's finances. It is deceptively simple. It is just, what do they actually own? That is it. That is where it starts. Not with more money out of your pocket, with honest eyes on what is already there. This is Futuretainment. We are rooted in two worlds. We are building one legacy. So here is your one action this week. And I really want you to do this one, not just nod at it and move on. This week, call your parents. Or if that is difficult, call the sibling who is closest to them. And ask the question gently, with love, what do you actually own? The house, the land, any policies, any pension? And then do the most important part. Write the answers down on one page, because that single page, that honest inventory of what your family already has, that is where everything we are going to build together begins. And if any of this landed, if you recognized your own family in what I just described, then watch the next video right now. Because the very first place that sleeping wealth is usually hiding is the house your parents live in. And I am going to show you exactly how it can start paying them every single month instead of you. Monday is for our parents, Wednesday is for our offspring, and Friday our finances. I will see you there.
Leave something worth inheriting.